Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak, and I have a special guest today. It's Josh Treadaway. Say hey, Josh.
What's up, guys?
So, wow, we're episode 274. Getting up there.
It is.
Yeah. So, I wanted to do a special podcast with you because I hadn't caught up with you in a while. And also, I've had people say, hey, what's up with Josh? I hadn't heard from him lately. And I'm like, he's around. He's busy. You had started a new job, and we talked about that on the phone a little bit earlier. So you're working 6 days a week and frantic as all get out. So,
yeah, it's a little hectic, but in the long run, I think it's going to be a great thing. So,
yeah. So anyway, we had started to talk about the big subject, which I wanted to talk about, which is the Mandalorian. And I watched the latest episode and geeked out tremendously. I ran around the house and went, and of course, no one knew why I was excited because it was like the Friday before the weekend. And I'd asked Dolores, I said, hey, do you want to watch this? And we were supposed to go out of town to visit her folks. And she was like, no, you go ahead. And I'm going to go get ready. I was like, okay. So I didn't want to give any spoilers away. So I actually watched it on my phone. I have this little pop-up thing
really?
on the back. Yeah, I propped my phone up and I watched it on my phone and I was like, and of course the sound is still great on your phone and everything. But I was still like geeking out. I was like, whoa! And I tried to take screenshots with my phone of the scenes where Ahsoka Tano's got the lightsabers and the white blade.
Double saber, and it's just beautiful.
Of course, I don't know why, but it won't take the screenshot the right way when you're watching it on your phone. But anyway, it was so pretty. I was just like, I was geeking out, and so I'm trying to talk to her about it. I'm like, okay, so let me tell you some background so you'll know who I'm talking about. And hang on a second. I got to take this. This is kind of weird. Let me pause this. I bet I can pause it. All right, we're back at it. That was my eye doctor. I'm trying to get my short-term disability stuff going. I called them last week, and they faxed something to work and to short-term disability from the doctor's office saying that these are the restrictions and this is the parameters of the job. And then I haven't heard back, which I figured Thanksgiving week, of course, is probably a skeleton staff and whatnot. Sure. So I was just waiting to hear back, and I hadn't heard anything. So I called today, and their phone line is having some trouble when you call them at the short-term disability place. It's a company called Sedgwick. So that was just the doctor's office calling me back saying that they refaxed it, and for me to try to call them and see if they've gotten it. She said she tried to call them and she couldn't get through. So I tried to call today, and the first time I called, it said the phone lines were down. And then the second time I called, I got put on hold. And 40 minutes later, I started getting phone calls from people. And I was like, I can't stay on the line when I'm getting phone calls from people I got to talk to. So I finally just had to hang up. I was like, anyway. So anyway, Mandalorian, back to the subject. Sorry for the delay there, sideline. I totally enjoyed it. You and I had talked about this before on previous episodes about how we were sort of anticipating the possibility of Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka Tano. Mm-hmm. And then she let nothing leak. Like she put nothing on any of her social media. I follow her on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And she didn't put no hint as the fact of, oh yeah, it's about to happen. But like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes. I mean, and it was great. Like everything about it was great. Everything about the timing, her age, the way they had her move with the double blades. I mean, you can tell that Star Wars geeks like us were like, okay, this is how I want to do it. And they totally did. Like, Dave Filoni, he's done a great job with the animated series, the Rebels and I don't know if he did Rebels, but I know he did the Clone Wars. Yeah. But just a great job translating that animated character into an adult character. I mean, and I was trying to tell my wife, I was like, here's some background information you need to know. And I was telling her, this is Anakin's Padawan. I actually got her to watch I tricked her into watching the animated movie, The Clone Wars. That's got basically her introduction to Anakin and the misunderstanding as to whether or not she was supposed to like fall underneath Obi-Wan or not. And then the instant fit that they were because of her rash decision-making fits right along with his rash decision-making. And I think it was designed sort of by Yoda and Obi-Wan as a this will help you kind of mature into a more evolved decision maker. And it did in a lot of ways.
It did. Well, I
And
mean, you remember? I mean, like when he made his turn to the dark side, she was no longer his Padawan.
right.
She
Yeah.
was kind of like she kind of helped him keep
It sort of
ground.
balanced him out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she knew secrets about, him and Padme, and there were things that the Jedi Council told them to do that she didn't quite agree with. And as that journey continued in the animated show, like I enjoyed watching her move more towards the middle ground of the Force, not necessarily all dark or all light, but sort of that, you know,
there has to be a gray area.
yeah, she was the center. She was the, I don't agree with this. This is, while this makes sense, this isn't the right move. Like she was more of a, what we kind of all are. We sort of all in this middle ground of, all right, but this isn't really the right move for the big picture of how we want to do things. I mean, and I was really impressed on the animated show how facing off with characters like General Grievous, who holds multiple lightsabers and multiple arms, and Count Dooku. Like there's a point where she faces both of them and fends them off well, and I'm like, go ahead, girl, you got it. You'd expect like a young character who's supposed to be a Force user like that, a Jedi, in training, and you'd expect them to get kind of punked around, but she was like, I got this. Like,
No, she's a total badass.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was trying to tell my wife, I was like, to me, her, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and probably Vader are the strongest that I see, up until you see Rey. I mean, she's one of the stronger Force users that I see, and definitely can hold her own with a lightsaber. I mean, impressive. So they did not disappoint in this. They were on point with the character, with the storyline. I was totally happy with everything involved. I mean, what do you think?
I agree completely. I was excited when she popped up on screen, and I was like, here it is, and then it met all my expectations of what I expected it to be with her, and went above it.
Yeah. I was really impressed with the introduction of Bo-Katan as Katie Sackhoff playing her. She was a good fit to fit that Mandalorian leader style. She looks the part. She's got that strong presence. She is a strong woman. She's been in multiple science fiction movies and shows before. She's the rightful owner of the Darksaber. This kind of tells me this is that time frame where we may see Ezra Pritchett from Rebels. We may see, Satine, which is the other Mandalorian from the Rebel story that was with Ezra.
It's also very obvious that they're going to go on a sideway as well. I'm pretty sure Ahsoka's going to get her own show.
I hope so.
And it's going to lean toward more of that Thrawn series, which is the series that I read, which was supposed to be the final trilogy after Return of the Jedi.
And we see a lot of that in Rebels. Like if anybody is into this and they want to see more of it, watch the animated series Rebels. It's actually really well done, especially the last season. In the beginning, it's a little. I watched it thinking, okay, who are these characters? What am I supposed to be doing? But you get it pretty quickly, and they do a good job of entertaining you and keeping the story going. And unlike Clone Wars, there's no wasted anything in Rebels. Like everything is moving the story towards who this character is developing to be, why he's developing to be that. You get a very in-depth learning of the Mandalorians. You get a very in-depth learning of this Tyrell guy. What's his name again?
I honestly can't remember at this minute.
I wrote it down. See, Thrawn, Grand Master Thrawn.
Yes, okay, sorry. Yes, Thrawn. Yeah.
So and he's really wicked. I mean, holy cow. So you get to see that battle between Ezra and him, and it's a very impressive battle at the end, and it's a great story. And I don't know the timeline as to how they're going to fit this with that, because it kind of seems like it's around the same time, maybe just after. I'm not sure.
See, that's what I was trying to figure out. I was trying to figure out exactly the timeline as far as what the Mandalorian was versus when Ahsoka came in, because I for some reason I was thinking that the timeline was a lot further on.
Yeah.
Actually, this is more maybe 5-6 years after the end of Jedi.
Yeah, I don't know how many years it's supposed to be after Jedi. I mean, I don't know.
Because it's right after the fall of the Empire. I mean, this is from what I read, it's right around 5 to 10 years after the end of Jedi.
Well, we learned from that episode with Timothy Oliphant that this is, when this fell, the mining, these thugs came in and tried to take over the mining colony, and he found, he came across Boba Fett's armor and was able to defend his little mining city. Great character in that. I love that whole story.
Oh, man,
That was
that was a,
fun.
that was a great episode.
Yeah. And you
I
get to see the little teaser at the end with Boba Fett watching it. You're like, ooh, ooh.
Well, now there's rumor that that's not Boba Fett. That was like supposed to be like a throwaway to make you think it's Boba Fett, but it's actually Captain Rex.
Oh, okay, yeah, because
I don't know that for a fact, but that's what I heard from a friend of mine who's really into like the deep blogs and things like that. That it was sent as a teaser to make you think it's Boba Fett, but it's actually Captain Rex.
And he was real tight with Ahsoka. So, I mean, there's that whole thing in Clone Wars where they paint their faces like her, and I mean, had the helmets painted like her, and
they were her guard.
This is so well written. So much of this is well written, and anybody looking to dive more into the Clone Wars animated show, there are throwaway episodes. There's a lot of them. Pretty much anything that has to do with underwater, you can just skip it. None of those are important at all. Nothing moves the story along. It's just filler episodes. But if you want to get into it, like there's a lot of stuff in the beginning that's great. There's some middle stuff about the Mandalorians that's great, and then the very last 4 episodes is a must watch.
Well, you keep saying that. I agree with you 100%. The last 4, but I like the whole final season. I like the first. I like the Bad Bunch in the beginning of the first final season.
Yeah, well, and that plus there's the thing.
Their own series too.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
the Bad Bunch, right?
Yeah. So that's going to be an animated series, I hear. But like Ventress with the Witch Sisters, I mean, that's kind of a cool storyline. The character that they made, that big giant evil looking thing that they were supposedly going to give to Count Dooku to be his next apprentice, that thing is supposed to come back in shows. I don't remember his name. This is not the Stuff I Know podcast. This is the Stuff I Heard podcast. So go check out the other one to find out what his name, or look on Wikipedia. You can Wikipedia.
Look up Google or whatever. Yes.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of this stuff, the names, I wanted to get the spelling right. So I looked up, on Wikipedia, and there was also Wikipedia, which is Star Wars fans' version of Wikipedia, which is more in depth and has more, dialogue and whatnot. So the big reveal, like this is a spoiler episode, if anybody hasn't figured that out by now. The big reveal is that the child's name is Grogu, and that he's, able to speak to Ahsoka through his mind, and they can kind of communicate that way, which is a big reveal to me. I mean, that was kind of huge. Up to now we've just been calling it, Baby Yoda and that little child thing, and
the child.
But they finally have defined it a name. It's Grogu, which is cool because that way it's easier to kind of say and you understand and you can move through and that kind of stuff. But you get a little bit of that Anakin vibe when she talks about the fact that he's got a close relationship to Mando and that he looks at him kind of like a father figure, and she's like, there's the possibility that this could cause fear, and I've seen what that does. I mean, that's kind of a hint towards him, and there's a lot of those little nuggets of things in there that you're like, okay, all right. Now they talked about going to, I wrote it down. They talked about going to Tython, which I read on Wikipedia is the Jedi Order's original planet. That's where they supposedly originally started. It talks about a book, a canon book. I don't know what canon is.
What canon? Basically, canon. If I'm not mistaken, canon basically just means that it goes along with the actual storyline from the originals.
Okay.
So when they say something's canon, that means it follows along the storylines of the original trilogies and all the stories that went with it.
Okay.
Like the Thrawn series that I read was written by Timothy Zahn. Mm-hmm. He was the only author at the time that Lucas gave rights to do whatever he wanted to because he knew he was keep it canon. So the Thrawn series is very traditional Lucas style Star Wars.
Okay. Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Tython was in Rebels. That's the thing with Ezra going into the mountain, isn't it? where he goes into the mountain and
I think you're right, but I don't know for a fact on that one.
And the icons move at a certain point whenever something I can't remember exactly what happens, but the icons move and the portal opens and he walks into the mountain and it's that whole time and space thing and incredible episode. I mean, just holy crap. I mean,
who would think they could have done something? I mean, granted, we grew up kids watching cartoons.
Yeah.
But animated series now, I mean, they're basically movies. I mean, the way it's done, it's amazing what they've done and the stories they tell in it.
I mean, 20-hour movies, you could call it, you know.
I mean, literally, when I first started watching Clone Wars, I'm like, what am I watching? Because it was late night, and then all of a sudden, I just couldn't stop watching. I mean, it was a binge.
Yeah. And you know, I kept telling my wife, I said, I don't think the movies do a decent job of showing you how powerful Obi-Wan is until you watch the animated series and you go, oh, he's a legit bad to the bone dude, man. He is holding his own against everybody. And you know, lightsaber, no lightsaber, who gives a crap? He's gonna like come ahead. I mean, and his thing with Darth Maul, I mean, that character, I've heard them talking about having a Darth Maul kind of rebirth in the show, which they will if they're going to tell the story adequately. I mean, they got to have that rebirth and the reassociation on Tatooine at some point. I mean, in order to tell Ahsoka's story, they have to do that because she is integral with him. But you know, that incredible, just piece de resistance. I was so impressed with the episode. Holy crap. Got me speaking French.
And I had a couple of people. I had a couple of guys at work that have like after I think was it the second episode that they did was the spiders.
Yeah,
they were just like, I feel like I wasted my time, and I'm like, I get it, I understand what you're saying. I wasn't thrilled with the episode, but I know it's got somehow or another. There's going to be something from that episode that's going to come back.
Yeah, nothing's wasted. I mean, even on throwaway episodes, they have something that's going to come back later. So that planet, or the spiders, or the frog people, or the
two fighter pilots.
They're going to come. Somebody's going to come back, and it's going to come full circle, and you're going to see why all of that mattered. I mean,
so they waited, and like, I think I'm just going to wait and binge watch the whole season. I said, well, you can do that, but I'm going to watch it, and I'll let you know if it gets any, you know. So I went to him. I said, look, I'm not telling you got to watch it after this episode, but I'm going home to watch it again tonight.
Yeah.
Because I watched it 3 times now.
I've already watched it twice. I'm going to watch it again tonight. I'd already decided I was going to watch it by myself on the big screen and put the speakers on,
surround sound, and just sit in it.
Yeah. Run around the house and go blah, like the Home Alone kid.
I haven't quite done that yet. I watched it at night after Chrissy went to bed, and so I had to keep it down a little bit. So I mean, I was like doing like silent, like you know. So I haven't really had the chance to like turn it up and listen to it.
And see, Dolores, she at times looks at me and she goes, "Okay, so," because I explained a little bit, and she goes, "Yeah, I don't know enough about it to geek out as much as you do." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm losing it. Like, I am so happy with this. This is so awesome," you know. Again, I think that everybody did a great job of stylizing. There's cinematic scenes in this with her with the lightsabers that's just picture worthy. I mean, it's
you would think it might have been animated.
It's nothing but total respect. I mean, for that character, for her, for the role, for everything. And they did good homage to me, you know, as far as watching it in the fandom, for them to go, "Ooh, I'm so excited," because it gave you what you wanted. You know, the double blades, her holding her own against the other chick with the Beskar steel, you know, spear, and her still being able to defeat her no matter what. I mean, because you knew she would.
Of course.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, she could have gone in there and taken them all out by herself anyway.
But they did it right. I mean, they made it. Yeah. They put a little struggle on it. They made it. You know, she lost the one saber. Then she had to, you know, come back. I mean, it was a good setup. I mean, we all knew, like I said, what the finish would be.
And to me, the show has always been sort of a cowboy space movie. I mean,
100%.
With the stylizing of the music, he's almost like a gunslinger coming into town, and they don't fail on this, having the shootout between him and the other hired assassin. I mean, that was a great scene with him taking him out, and then the robot behind you, and he, you know, one shot in the head.
Around, one shot gun.
that's like a total Western, man. That's like Clint Eastwood walking down Main Street and just pinning people off to pow, 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 pow. And I'm like, yes, that's so cool. I was so ecstatic. And we get to see also why the Beskar steel is so important, because it can fend off the lightsaber.
Right.
I mean, we got to watch in the episode where he's operating with the other Mandalorians, where they're taking over the ship and they shoot at him, and he just uses his armor to deflect all of the firepower. But also it defends against lightsabers. Like, he's battling her at one point when he first meets her, and she hits him with both blades in the arm, and he's just like, and then you get to see them later on. She's fighting this other chick inside that little monastery thing of the.
And that's why the Empire was so adamant about taking all the Beskar steel.
Yeah, and so like I've already read some fan predictions that spear is going to come up whenever he has to battle Moff Gideon with the Darksaber. I mean, because he's going to need that. I mean, that's going to be the final thing.
Darksaber, I mean, pretty much can penetrate anything.
Yeah, and we didn't even. I mean, we kind of. I wish I could have had you on so we could geek out about the episode before, because you get to see the whole thing of them basically trying to make Jedi clones to be on the dark side, when they talked about taking the midichlorian count from the child and trying to do blood infusions. They keep saying M count, and I'm like, that's midichlorians.
Yeah, we know what it is.
I'm having to explain it to my wife. She's like, what is that? Midichlorians. That's the big deal. It's big deal.
The thing that I really thought that I liked about this episode, besides the fact that it was the introduction of Ahsoka, you're right about the fact that it's very similar to like a space western.
Yeah.
But this episode for me took it back to the original idea that basically Lucas tried to create like a space Ronin.
Yes, because of that courtyard.
Yeah, that whole courtyard and everything like that.
It's like a samurai scene.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I felt she was more of a Ronin.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what the Jedi really are. We're Ronin.
The lady's feeding the fish out of the little dish, and she's like, "All right, if you want to do this," and I'm like,
I thought that was a really good homage to the original idea of the reason why he created the Star Wars the way he did, because it was basically set up to be kind of a space Ronin story.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really liked that part of the episode.
I was tickled. I was so happy. So,
just to switch gears for just 1 second, so we've geeked out on that one. I took your recommendation and started watching Wayne.
How much did you enjoy that?
I've only gotten through about 4 episodes so far, but so far I am addicted. This kid is freaking awesome.
I love this kid.
The chick is cool, but Wayne is just he's such a good guy. That's the thing. Like, he's such a genuinely good person.
Yeah.
But if you do anything wrong to anybody that he loves or cares about, he's
throwing you a beating.
and he doesn't care.
I love that scene in the principal's office, and he's like, "Get out!" And he goes, "Hey, I'm counseling them." He goes, "Yeah, but he falls to our house. You don't do that, all right?" I love it. I love the scene. I love that. I love them. I don't know if they're going to make any more. There's a petition right now online for them to try and make more, because apparently this was like I was talking about, this was a series that YouTube had done when they wanted to create their own content. And then when they realized, we're getting beat out by everybody, we don't need to make content. We got a thing going. And they pivoted more towards YouTube TV. Amazon picked this up to show it, and hopefully Amazon will throw some money its way, or Netflix. I mean, those kind of shows are like, auctioned off, and if people want it, they can get it. I mean, so hopefully somebody will like it and want to do more of it.
And I get it. And I'm sure that once I get to the end, I'll see that they have the ability to kind of do that. Yeah. Right now, the story, the way I see it is I kind of see it as a one season kind of just, it plays itself out. And then he goes on and has a life with this chick.
Mm.
But again, I have not seen the full season yet. So you're making me want to go watch it now.
It's so good. It's so good because I love the shows that have I know it's kind of silly, but the shows that someone will say something and you see them physically act out what they want to do, and then it's just like a thought because it goes back to them before they made the thing, and it's like, yeah. but you get to see like their fantasy of what they wanted to do.
What they wanted to do.
He basically just does what he wanted to do.
Well, that's it. That's exactly what it is. Like he gets a thought in his head, and he's like, "Okay, let's do that."
Yeah, I'm just gonna punch you now a lot. I'm gonna cut your tires off. I love. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
So yeah, the last episode I saw was when they were in North Carolina. I think it was North Carolina, and they were at the high school for the prom.
I love the prom. That's so much fun. Hey, they're beating up Wayne, and they all come out there and kick the dude's ass.
That was the last one I've watched so far. So
I love it when he rides the motorcycle in the high school.
High school, yes, and goes to get her.
Yeah, and they're all like, you got a date, and she's like, I got a Wayne. And you hear the motorcycle. She goes, what's that? That's Wayne. And the girl's like, I gotta get me a Wayne. I was like, yeah, no kidding. That's so awesome.
All right, so one other quick one. I doubt you've probably watched this one, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how far I'm going to go, but it's been really cheesy funny. The new Saved by the Bell.
Oh, really?
It's socially conscious while being the cheesy Bayside as well.
Mm.
I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest.
I'm going to give you my honest opinion and tell you, I only watched a few episodes of the old one and thought it was really crappy, and so I'm probably not going to watch that one. So
it was cheesy as could be. I mean, that was the only reason I watched it was that, and it was Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's basically, the story is basically about Slater and Jesse coming back to the school, not together, but as she's like a guidance counselor and he's like a athletic director. But then what happens is Zach's the governor of California.
Huh.
And he cancels. He makes a huge big budget cut, and it cuts a bunch of schools in lower income areas.
Yeah.
And so they have to be bused to other schools. And
they're considered a lower income area? Oh no. Okay, so they get students.
Right.
Okay.
So they end up having, according to the story, and this is not, they're on a bus for like an hour and a half to go to Bayside. But they get there, and like the first line of the story basically is these two girls get off the bus, and they're like, "Why does the bus get us so far away from the school?" And it's because of the parking lot. And they're like, "Oh, look at all these cars, Beamer, for like, oh, there's a crappy car. Oh, that's the teacher lot." It shows the transition between the Malibu and the Beverly Hills side of that funny part aspect.
Yeah,
what Saved by the Bell was. And then it brings in inner city youth and more social consciousness kind of blended together.
I've been enjoying the Cobra Kai stuff way more than I thought I would. But it's good because of Johnny, because he's such a kind of a turd at times, but he's like he's sort of like a normal guy. He's just like, yeah, whatever. That was a time in my life, and
Right. Well, now there's rumor that Shu's going to be coming back on the next season.
Really?
That's what I heard.
Okay.
I guess she got written off of the Boys, so I guess she's going to Cobra Kai.
Well,
I mean, she's still got little cameos in the Boys, but
yeah. Well, and they wrote it off that. No, I thought they wrote it off that she died. No,
well, she did die, but then remember that he had the little.
No, I'm saying on Cobra Kai, but that was wrong. I'm thinking about Mr. Miyagi.
No, Mr. Miyagi died. Yeah, no,
yeah.
She didn't die. I don't believe. But yeah, supposedly she's going to be making an appearance.
Well, no, because his ma comes back. Remember, they eat dinner, and she's doting on him at a certain point, or maybe that was her mom. I thought it was his mom.
No, that was his mom. Talking about at the dinner at the table.
Yeah,
that was his mom. That was Daniel's mom.
But she was the one they were in love with. Okay, because that
Elizabeth Shue was story. Elizabeth Shue was the girl that Daniel fell in love with.
You're getting darker and darker as the second goes on. I'm watching you fade away.
I don't know why. I can turn the light on. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Okay. It's like he's turning slowly towards the dark side.
That would be me.
Luke, hey, there you are. I see a light now.
There we go. Got a little light interaction.
Hey, that looks better.
Okay.
You were getting darker and darker, and I'm
sure some of your YouTube viewers won't mind the fact that it got a little darker and they don't have to look at my face.
I kept looking in my bad eye and going, is it just my bad eye, or is it?
Well, I see you got your eyes open a lot longer now.
Yeah.
and you've got the ring light on as well. So
Yeah.
you must be doing a lot better, at least for that part.
I can tolerate it a lot better. Every day is a little bit better. It's just a long process. I'm sick of not being back to normal. I mean, I'm ready to get back in the swing of things. Just sitting around the house stuff gets old after a while. It'd be different if I had the ability to do things, but I really honestly can't see this great with one eye as I could with two. So it's kind of keeping me away from doing any kind of woodworking or anything that I would have time to do. So I can podcast, so I'm podcasting.
There you go.
That and playing Animal Crossing because Greg.
Thank you, Greg, for that addiction.
Greg was like, "Hey, are you bored? I got something that's going to take up some time." Which I was talking to my mom about it today, and I was like, it's just about mental health care. And I mean, this is honestly something I can do right now that sort of boosts me up mentally, that makes me feel good about what I'm doing, which is funny because it came right on the tail end of me having an episode where I kind of poo-pooed on people who play video games all their life. And yeah, well, there you go. That's how karma works. So,
well, I mean, you came back very well in the last podcast and explained that you didn't mean it particularly to everybody, but it wasn't for you anymore.
Yeah.
You decided that life had come to a point where you had to make a decision whether to be an adult or play video games, and then now you did the adult thing. You raised kids, and now you happen to have some free time, and hey, you found something that.
Well, and I think the big thing is learning to prioritize. So a lot of people have a hard time deciphering when to break away from stuff like that, and it could be any addiction. It could be, for some people it's working out, for some people it's drinking, for some people it's playing pool, for some people it's whatever, jujitsu, yoga, you name it. I mean, there's good habits and bad habits, but everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people have habits that can take over their lives. And that's when it gets dangerous, is when it's, all consuming. And I've seen people go through a video game addiction to the point that it takes over their life, and they do disassociate from everything, and they neglect the things that need to be taken care of on a regular basis. And I never wanted to get to that point with anything. And so, I have learned to prioritize, thank goodness. But there are a lot of people that don't. I'm watching, I've started watching it today on Netflix, a show called High Score. And it's basically the history of video games. It talks about the early days of Atari and Space Invaders and then Nintendo, and, kind of how they got started and the things they did to get started. And, the concept of, setting up a video game and setting a high score and setting the introduction of a storyline and role-playing games. And that was just text. I mean, I remember playing with Rodney. We played Bard's Tale on his Apple, and it was just writing, just enter a room, walk forward, and it says, you hit a wall, turn left. It was just us typing.
When Oregon Trail came out and it actually had pictures, it was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And, it's interesting to watch the movie, or it's like a mini series. It's like 6 episodes. But in it, they talk about this thing that they consider focus. And it's almost like being in the zone, but it's the same thing that, athletes get into, people in extreme situations get into. Video games can also get you into that, where you feel like you're focused, you're in the zone, you're doing your thing, and you can achieve a lot of things, but you can also lose sight of what's around you. You can lose sight of the fact that you haven't eaten correctly, or that you haven't bathed in a while, or that you haven't taken care of your bills or work or whatever, or if you're my brother, you didn't go to class because you were playing World of Warcraft. I mean,
I did that a couple times in college myself, playing Myst.
Shout out to Alex. Yeah. So, I mean, the important thing for everybody, though, is to find balance in their life. If you're going to have something like that as a hobby, don't forget about the things that are important. Like, you can set aside time to play, but also, do the things you're supposed to be doing. Don't neglect work. Don't neglect your health care. Don't neglect eating, showering, that kind of stuff. Don't neglect going outside once in a while and interacting with people. People are important for your mental health. So, I just had to put that out there for PSA reasons, because I know somebody out there is going to be like, he's not talking about me. Oh crap, he's talking about me. But yeah.
I just find it a little ironic that, back in the day when we were kids and they're like, you can't play video games, you can't make money playing video games. And now you can make money playing video games.
Yeah, a lot of people can. You don't even have to be good at it. You could just be entertaining to watch. So
Twitch thing. I know your son has a Twitch channel, doesn't he?
He does. He doesn't do it often enough to garner any kind of following or support.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, a good thing in some way that he's balancing his life like you're talking about, so it's not just, his main focus.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Draven's birthday was Friday. He turned 26. And I talked to him on the phone. He was at a friend's house. He'd spent the night. He's hanging out. And I was like, so I said, happy birthday. And he's like, wait, what date is it? And I was like, how do you not know it's your birthday? He goes, I don't know. Working and coming home and working and coming home. And you lose track of things. And I was like, how do you lose track of your birthday? He's like, it is what it is, Dad. It's like, okay. But he says he's working part-time at Jimmy John's up there, and apparently he makes enough money that's all he needs to do. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess right now, I mean, with the pandemic, I mean, there's a lot of delivery. So I mean, yeah, I'm guessing is he delivering?
No,
he's just working as a sandwich maker.
Just making sandwiches.
Wow.
It's a very ritzy area. They it's up there near where Boeing is, where their headquarters is. And we've been up there. It's beautiful, very clean, very upscale. You don't see any like older cars. You don't see any like people driving piece of crap cars. So I mean, working at a sandwich shop, I'm sure they have to pay them a decent wage by the hour in order to be able to afford to live. And I guess they do. Plus they get tips. So
oh,
go figure.
Hey, I mean, if you can live off of it and enjoy your life, why not? I did as much as long as I could, and now I'm in the workforce to the point where it's it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
I fought it for years. I bartended, I waited tables, I did my 4 or 5 days a week, made enough money to have a good time, pay my bills, and have a life. But now Chrissy wants to try to start working toward an actual future, and so to do that, I had to go ahead and step up and get a real job and know what it's like to get very little sleep and
well, and you get to a certain age and you're like, I'm not dead yet. How did I not die yet?
I did that at 40.
You're like, wow, I got a whole new lease on this thing, huh? Maybe I should start eating more vegetables and working out a little bit.
I used to joke in college, and I'm sure even after college when we lived together in the apartment, I said like, I'm probably not going to make it to 30, so I'm going to have fun while I'm here. But then I made 30, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then 40 hit, and I'm like, well, now I've got to get a real job. I've actually got to start worrying about retirement and, whenever I'm not working and how I'm going to pay bills. So I was like, I better start looking at a real career.
Yeah.
So that's when I took this job. But also, like I said, I'm doing the computer thing online as well, trying to get that degree that'll help me maybe get into a little bit better of a field. Because I think I talked to you the last time when we were on the podcast here. I read somewhere in one of the articles in the next 15 years, or I'm sorry, next 10 years, the largest growth job market is in IT, especially in the cybersecurity.
Yeah,
they're expecting anywhere between a 10 to 15% growth in the next 10 years, which is higher than any other profession listed.
Oh yeah. Well, and I can get you in touch with Jeff Veely, who will tell you that right now the things you learn in college will be obsolete by the time you graduate. So
right, all you need is a certificate. I mean, if you get the certificate to get in the door, that's why when this program Google, my girlfriend's daughter found it on somewhere, I don't know how. She sent me a message, so I looked it up, and I mean, it's only maybe $75 a month for the Coursera courses, but they did offer financial aid, and so I applied for the financial aid, and they gave me the first 2 courses so far for free. There's 6 courses altogether. And I finished the first course completely. I'm in the second course now. But they gave me, I filled out my paperwork, and then they approved me for my financial aid for these courses so far. So It's cost me nothing but just the time to learn.
Cool. Yeah. I think he was saying that he got into it through school and landed a job working for a small department, I think in Raleigh, North Carolina, for one of their insurance companies or something like that for the city. And then he just kept moving up because every step of the way he kept challenging himself to get better and better. And at a certain point, I called him one time and I was like, hey, what are you doing? He goes, I'm installing a server farm in my spare bedroom. I was like, what? He goes, well, I made it identical to the one at work, and me and my buddies are on our free time trying to hack into each other's system to see how we could make our improvements. And I was like, what?
I think you actually
What?
said that. I think you actually said that on a podcast.
Yeah.
I think I remember because I remember you because you interviewed him and his wife on the podcast.
Yep.
Twice, I think.
Yep. Yeah. He's big on the VPNs. He's like, listen, you need to get you a VPN. Everybody needs to be on a VPN. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do that. And he's like, well, I'm just saying it's worth every penny. And I was like, okay. But
once I have information on my computer that's concerning, I would think about a VPN. But right now, the only thing the VPN would do now is just mask the Fire Stick.
Yeah.
And right now that would slow it down and cause a lot of, because anytime you put a VPN on something like that, they start doing what's it called? They start throttling your cable speed.
They're randomizing, trying to move your geolocation, so it does slow it down at times. Yeah. So, but I mean,
did you watch the fight Saturday night or the Hug Fest?
No, I heard it was
it was a Hug Fest.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured they weren't going to try to hurt themselves. I mean,
well, no, I mean he threw. I mean, Mike was throwing some punches. Mike was trying. Look, 54 years old. I give him credit.
Yeah,
he was in shape.
He's strong.
I mean, granted, it was an exhibition bout, so it was only 2 minutes and it was only 8 rounds.
Yeah,
but I mean, at 54 years old, I'm 45. There's no chance in hell I could get in the ring right now and do 2 minutes, 8 rounds.
Yeah, he was also he was saying that before the match he was taking HGH and stuff like that and getting back into shape, you know, taking some steroids, trying to get tough again. But like, you know, he gave that little video of him punching the bag and it looked explosive. And he went on Joe Rogan and he said, I must have punched that bag for 2 minutes and I hurt for 2 weeks after that. He said, I ain't what I used to be, man. He goes, that was just a snippet of something I could do. He goes, but those days are gone, you know. And of course, all I could think of was Toby Keith's song, I ain't as good as I once was, but I was good once I ever was. Like, yeah, you catch that guy on a bad day and he'll knock you out, but you know, he ain't gonna do it on a regular basis. You know, he's just gonna be like, I don't want any fight.
Oh, Roy said that he hit him with a couple body blows and made him think about quitting.
Yeah.
he said that, you know, you heard about, you know, a fighter wanting to quit. Like you ever seen the video where Tyson made the guy quit and he just never came out of the corner?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Roy said he never understood it. He said, I understand it now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've heard Joe Rogan talk about it in UFC fights where, you know, you see guys hitting themselves, you know, hitting them in the back and the liver area and the kidney area. He goes, some of those will make you think, I don't want to do this no more. He's like, literally, fighters will be in the middle of a fight and go, no, I tap out. And you're like, he didn't get hit that hard. Oh, yeah, he did. He got hit in the right place really hard. It's like your internal organs go, that's it, buddy. We're done. We quit. It's like that Will Smith song. I don't know what I could think I could beat Mike Tyson, where he talks about he punches him so hard his bowels release.
Yes.
That's a real thing.
That's a great reference.
Oh, so yeah, I didn't watch it. We were down in Georgia and I couldn't get it to go through my laptop, but I was like, I don't care. They're probably not going to do nothing crazy. So wasn't a big deal.
No, it really wasn't. I mean, like there were a couple rounds where, you know, there was a couple throws thrown, but for the most part, to be honest with you, after about the third round, you could tell Roy was just gassed. And all he did every time Tyson would come in at him, he would just jump in on him and hug him.
Yeah.
I mean, hug fest for like 4 rounds.
Well, I mean,
they called it a draw as a joke.
Even back in the day when Tyson was dominant, you know, people would see the way to beat him was just to outlast him. I mean, if you could just outlast him from that initial bull rush, then you could kind of hang in there. And the longer you hung in there, the more chance you had of being okay. You know, that's how Evander eventually beat him. And so, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things, man. So, but I'm glad they were able to do it. I'm glad they were able to raise the money because all that money went to charity.
Right. And that's what Tyson said. Like he said, and I'm pretty sure that's why they went for a draw.
Yeah.
Because they'll probably do it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Or with somebody else. I mean, you know, and I'm sure people who are geeking out about seeing it were excited to see it. I mean.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, because there's really no heavyweights left in boxing. There's really no good boxing left.
Well, there are, but it's been taught through people like Mayweather that if you're defensive enough, you can still win just being defensive. And Mayweather's made it his whole career without really getting hit hard. I mean, that's why he's so dominant, is because he's played such great boxing defense and he scored enough points to win.
He puts the science in the scientific part of boxing.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's the smartest boxer I've ever seen box.
Extremely boring to watch, but he is so technical. It is amazing.
Yeah. He knows exactly what it takes to win, and he's not getting hit hard, which means he's get to enjoy his money and his life as he gets older. He's not going to be like Cassius Clay and Muttermouth, you know. I mean, it is what it is.
No, I mean, and thing is also with him, you put a dollar sign in front of him, he's going to win.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because Money Mayweather is about the money. He doesn't care about boxing. He just cares about the money.
He'll blow 90% of it in Vegas, but he'll also. You know, hey, listen, they got to go to college somehow, and $1 at a time ain't cutting it. So good for him. He's helping out the economy of Vegas right there. Just him alone.
So you went down to Georgia for Thanksgiving with Dolores and family?
We did. We hung out, had dinner on Saturday. Got to see Dolores' sister and her husband, and yeah, it was good. It's a good crowd. We had a turkey incident. Her brother forgot to take the turkey out and thaw it in time. So he threw the frozen turkey on the grill and it didn't turn out eatable. So yeah, it's one of those things. He didn't listen to the podcast, so whatever. I can say
no
that.
Turkey for you,
which he knows he messed up. No, I made turkey here. I did turkey on Thanksgiving Day.
I saw your turkey. I saw your turkey. It was beautiful, by the way.
My turkey was the bomb.
Your turkey was beautiful.
Dude, that's the best turkey I've ever eat. Holy cow.
The skin on that thing looked absolutely just glistening golden.
I set the temperature on the grill at 250, and I let it get to temperature before I put it on.
And you just left it at 250? You didn't turn it up to get it crispy at all? It just stayed at 250 the whole time?
When we got close to time to eat, Dolores was trying to get all the fixings ready, and she wanted it done by the time her dad was going to be here to eat, because her dad came up from Roundo. So I cranked it up for like the last 25 minutes. I turned it up to 350 just to
get that little skin burn.
No, I was just trying to get it up to temperature, because I was like, all right, we got to eat here.
Oh, it still wasn't up to temperature at that point yet?
No, I mean, I put it on about 9, and at noon we were still waiting. It didn't get done till about 12:30. But I turned it up probably about 11:30. So I mean, it cooked at 250 for most of that time.
Well, whatever you did, it looked like I said, I didn't get a chance to taste it, but just looking at it, it looked like a perfect turkey.
It was perfect. And the breast, I mean, people talk about, oh, my turkey's dry. Well, you're doing it wrong. So.
Well, a lot of times, because they're putting it in, usually they're putting it in an oven, and that top burner is overcooking and drying out the breast. That's why with these grills, it's phenomenal.
Well, no, because your oven doesn't turn that top burner on unless you turn the broil on. Your broil is your top burner. When you put it on bake, it's just the bottom burner. The problem is they're not putting temperature probe in it, and they're guessing it when they think it's done. Then nowadays, you can put a temperature probe in it, and you can see exactly when it's 165.
Well, yeah, they're also waiting, because they're buying the turkey. They're waiting for that little thing to pop. That thing doesn't pop till the turkey's almost overdone.
Yeah, it's getting closer to 200 degrees whenever that thing pops. Yeah. Don't count on the pop, man. Temperature that thing.
We used to take foil and put it over top of the breast.
Yeah, that helps it so it doesn't burn.
So it doesn't overcook the breast.
Plus, it helps any kind of moisture you've got in the turkey will circulate back into it. Years ago I used to cook them in the oven with butter inside, or onion, or an apple, or something like that.
Stuff the butter underneath the skin on the breast with a little bit of basil,
or shove whole sticks of it inside the cavity of it. I mean,
oh, okay,
that works good too. Listen, Reynolds makes a baking bag that works perfect every time. If you use that Reynolds wrap baking bag, it's a giant bag. You put flour and some stuff in it, and then you shake it up, and then you put the bird in there and close it off. Cut little holes in the top, little tiny holes, so it can breathe. Slide it in the oven, cook it to whatever it says, and you'll always have a perfect turkey. I mean, they've made a science out of cooking a turkey with those baking bags. But
I don't know about those. Maybe try those, but we didn't. It was just me and Chrissy and her friend this year.
Yeah.
So her friend went to Aldi and just got like a little 3-pound turkey breast.
Okay.
And I just put that on the smoker, and I took 2 chicken breasts just in case that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And smoked those as well with a little bit of marinade on them.
Yeah.
And I just stuck a little bit of butter underneath the skin, and then I kept basting it with a little bit of butter every like 30 minutes. And Chrissy, who works at a barbecue house and makes smoked turkey all the time, she was like, that was the best turkey.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I owe it all to the boys because they got me to get a pellet grill, and that's the only reason why.
And you'll start playing around with butcher paper and aluminum foil and injecting meat, and you'll be like, ah.
Well, now I did a pork loin about a month ago, and I injected it with apple juice.
Yeah.
And then just seasoned it outside with like some Cajun seasoning.
That's great.
And then just put it on there and left it at 250 and just let it smoke all the way through.
Yeah.
So that way it would stay moist inside, but it wouldn't overcook, on the outside. So I left it at 250. It took about 4 or 5 hours, but man, was it good.
Yeah. Well, and the turkey, I usually inject the breast meat and the legs with lemon juice. I just straight lemon juice, about half a syringe in each breast, and then about the same in each other part I can find. Just I just shove lemon juice in it because it just helps flavor the meat a little bit. Her brother uses Cajun seasoning, and normally he does a decent job. This is the one time he screwed up the turkey. I mean, I'm sure after this year he's going to be off turkey duty. They're going to make somebody else do it. But especially
when they saw that picture of the picture of what you did.
That spatchcock, man. I mean, and I would have done it that way if Greg had not talked about doing it and just going on and on and on about it. And he's like, I'll never cook a turkey another way. Well, now I know why, because I'm the same way now.
Yeah, so. See, I haven't tried the spatchcock yet. But
and
we haven't really cooked that big of a turkey, so.
I didn't fully spatchcock this one. I didn't cut the spine completely out. I just cut one side of the spine, and that made it kind of at an angle.
It just float, but it laid out flat.
But no, not flat. It actually flayed it like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and I was like, why isn't it doing it right? And then I watched a video, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot to cut the other part off. But I was like, screw it. We'll see what happens. It was fine. But it would have turned out good either way. It probably would have cooked faster if I'd have cut the spine completely out and laid it flat, because then it would have had direct contact with that iron grill the whole time. So,
well, like I said, whatever happened, I looked at the picture and I was mouthwatered. So, now the cake, so much. I'm not a big cake guy, but you did say it was just a pound cake with cream cheese icing. So those two things I actually might have tried. A lot of times those people, they make like cinnamon and all that kind of stuff in it, and I'm just not a fan of that kind of stuff.
No, and my wife, she tried a different recipe this time that uses a cake mix, and it was good. I'll be honest though, that was like an easier recipe. There's a much more complicated recipe, and I'll be honest, the more complicated one tastes better.
Well, it's probably a lot more airy, and
this one was a lot more airy and a lot more spongy, because the cake it uses a cake mix, so it was like a buttercream cake mix. And I was like, okay, it does taste like pound cake. And I kind of want to go, but I prefer the other one,
Yeah, the only thing I ever really like, my grandmother would she would go buy the little Sara Lee pound cake. Mm-hmm. And that was the only one that I ever knew.
Which is a good cake. People always poo-poo on that kind of stuff. It's actually a really good cake.
Look, I'm not disagreeing. That's what I'm saying. Like, that was the only one that I would ever eat. Like, I mean, people would make homemade pound cakes and stuff like that. No, my grandmother bought me that Sara Lee little aluminum tin pound cake, and I'd eat the whole thing. And I'm not a cake or cookie person.
You can take that kind of stuff and heat it up and then cut it and then, use whatever your preference is. Some people like strawberries, or some people like chocolate, or some people like just like a glaze. You could put that stuff on there and go, ta-da, I made it. We'll take
exactly.
You kind of did, but and it'll taste just as good as one of those other ones that you buy at a fancy place. You're going to be like, that's a pretty good cake. Yeah.
Hey, I've stuck with that one. If I'm ever going to buy a pound cake, ever since my grandmother bought it for me when I was a kid, that's the only one I would buy.
We have a place in town here called Kayleen's, and they make a lemon blueberry pound cake that is my favorite, because she drenches it in dressing, not dressing, icing, which I love. And Dolores is always like, they just put too much icing on it. I'm like, you need to shut up, because I want it to glisten like a Krispy Kreme donut. That's how I want it to be a giant donut, because I want to I am picturing
myself.
That's
my problem with it. Most places do that with it, and it's just too sweet for me.
I want to be Homer Simpson and Pac-Man at the same time, and just eat my way through it.
And then I drip.
Yeah. Diabetes. I can't see anymore, but this cake was delicious.
Yeah, it's still nearly the diabetes check that Greg's birthday cake was.
Yeah, that thing's ridiculous.
Greg, I love you. There's no reason to have that much sweet on one thing.
I know this is kind of taking it in a dark turn, but I'm just kind of wondering about the giant poop he had to take later because of the influx of sugar and nougat.
Well, my problem, not on top of that, if I'm not mistaken, at the same time, they cooked a lot of meat.
Yeah. There was
So
a lot.
He probably had a little bit of trouble with that one.
There was a lot going through him at that point. That sugar would have kick drive that meat right on out, you know. If he opened his mouth and turned just right, it'd whistle through his body. Yeah. Love you, Greg. All right. Well, I've kept you on here a long time. You said you only had a certain amount of time. So.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to see what time it is now.
It's 5:14.
All right. Yeah, Christy's probably going to get off here probably about an hour or so. So I probably need to get to the store so I can't find something to fix for dinner unless I'm going to call her and see if she wants to go out and grab something instead, since I don't want to really cook because then I got to clean the kitchen again. So.
Yep.
But
thanks for nerding out with me on Star Wars stuff.
Hey man, I appreciate it. I was actually hoping that you might be. I thought about it yesterday. I was actually going to text you, and I ended up going to work and forgetting about it. I was going to see if you were off and available. I knew you were off, but I was going to see if you were available for today to talk about the.
Where else am I going to be?
I know. I didn't mean to say it. I was trying not to say it.
You know, I've got so much going on.
Yeah. But I was going to see if you wanted to talk about the episode.
Maybe a shower. I got to get a shower.
I took one of those
last night. But, you know, it's amazing how much you do sweat doing nothing.
Well, I do because my girlfriend likes to keep the freaking house like a freaking sauna.
Well, my eye drops tend to make I don't know. It's a reaction, and I have to constantly put deodorant on because of the eye drops in my body. It's a certain thing that expels out of your pores, and it's not pleasant. So try to take a shower every day to at least wash that off because I don't like it. So.
I got you. Kind of like it's like almost like a saline sweat.
Yeah, it's just a weird byproduct smell. I mean, you know, your sinuses are directly, you know, connected to your eyes. So whenever I put the drops in, especially the morning or the night, because I have to do 4 sets of drops in the morning and night, it'll drain into my nose, and sometimes I'll taste it and I'm like, it's nasty. But anywho.
Well, I'm glad you're at least able to, you know, keep your eyes open a little bit longer, and hopefully you'll get everything straightened out with the insurance people and get back to work as soon as possible, brother.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, and I had a great time talking with you about everything. And until next time.
Yep. You want to do it?
Take care, everybody.
You want to say it?
Oh, sure. Cue the cow.
There we go.
To give me more likes. Give me more